And we are live.
And we are live. Welcome everyone to this work session on one of my favorite topics, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Review. I know this is something that Roz is an expert in, as this has been something that she's worked on in her various roles in the city. And now as finance director, she is over the entire process. So we're going to turn it over to Miss Harris, Miss Brooks Harris, and Roz, how do you want to do it? Do you want to just go through your presentation and take questions at the end, or do you want us to ask you as you go along? And you're on mute, Roz.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Have you guys had a chance to look at the presentation?
I did look at it last night.
Okay.
But why don't we just start with you? I mean, you can kind of go through it, I guess, and then we can kind of take any questions that folks might have. Okay.
And I also have with me Kathy Havens, the Deputy Director of Finance.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can see it, just in case you don't put it up.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just go through. This is the presentation on the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. A little background on the CAFR. The city of Rochester, and I'm not going to read each bullet by bullet. The city has been producing the CAFR since fiscal year 1983. So for several years, we have been producing this document every single year. And as you guys, some of you, I know that this is your first time receiving a copy of the CAFR. When you review it, you will see that there's a lot of detailed information in the CAFR. The one part that everybody tends to focus on is the financial statements, but we'll get there. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into the CAFR, and you'll see once you read through it all the information that we capture. The National GFOA reviews the CAFR to make sure that we are lined up with GAAP, the generally accepted accounting principles. That's very important that we are in line with GAAP. GAAP recommends improvements as necessary and deemed suitable. We have been receiving the certificate from the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence for several years now. Let's see. The CAFR is distributed to all federal and New York State grant agencies and entities that have a federal pass-through with the city. The information provided by the CAFR is the basis for the city's official statements for bond and note sales. The CAFR is organized in this order. It is comprised of 5 sections: the introductory section, the financial section, statistical section, federal awards, single audit reports, and New York State transportation assistance. In the introductory section, you will see a transmittal letter from the mayor to council, and then a transmittal letter from myself to the mayor. You will see the auditor's opinion cited, the single audit, government profile, local economy, long-term financial planning, and financial policies. In the financial section, you will find the independent auditor's report, address to the mayor and city council, report to the financial statements, management's responsibility, auditor's responsibility, opinions, emphasis on matters, other reporting required by government auditing standards. The Mdna section, which is the management discussion and analysis section, gives an overview of the financial statements, government-wide statements, broad overview similar to private sector business, fund financial statements. If you look on page 23 of your CAFR, it'll give you the breakdown of governmental, proprietary, and fiduciary funds. The MDNA section also provides an overview of the previous year's operations and how Rochester performed financially. And the net position and changes in the net position presented with year-to-year variance analysis. The financial section includes the independent auditor's report, addressed to the mayor and city council, report of the financial statements, management's responsibility, auditor's responsibility, opinions, emphasis of matter, other matters, and other reporting required by government auditing standards. And then just more of the MDNA section. Basic financial statements are comprised as follows. The government-wide financial statements shows the city of Rochester governmental activities, component units, city school district, and land bank are the city's component units. Statement of net position, the city's balance sheet, and statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances, proprietary funds, and fiduciary funds. Then you have the notes to the financial statements. The notes to the financial statements are comprised of the following 4 sections: summary of significant accounting principles, stewardship, compliance, and accountability, and detailed notes on all funds. And then we have the statistical section. The statistical section presents the following detailed information: the financial trends, revenue capacity, debt capacity, demographic and economic information, and operating information. And then in the last section, you will find the federal awards and the state award. And then you'll see each award listed. That's what we put together for the presentation. And now Kathy and I are available to take any questions you guys may have.
Okay, council members, we got this CAFR a while ago. Before I ask any of my questions, any of my colleagues have questions related to the CAFR? I always say the CAFR makes for good bedtime reading.
Right. I agree.
Just a question about the independent auditors. This is I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's Freed Maxick, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And how long have we worked with that company for, and how often do we go out to bid for it?
Every 5 years. So we do a 3-year contract with 2 1-year extensions.
And I don't know a great deal about, do they do a lot of municipal budgets or a lot of municipal entities?
Yes, they do.
So
and school districts as well.
So ultimately, from your perspective, Director Brooks Harris, you're satisfied with the work that we get from Freed Maxick? Very
satisfied. Yes, very satisfied.
Yeah, and I can just say, I am too. And I've seen them on both sides now, because when I was on the school board, because we do this jointly with the city and school district, I was always very impressed with the thorough nature of their work, and I'm seeing that on this side as well as when I saw it on the school district side. So yes. I echo Director Brooks Harris' sentiment.
Yeah, they dig deep for sure.
They do.
They dig deep. So I am very pleased.
Right. Any other? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Kathy, who has dealt with, other auditors, has had a chance to see Freed. And who was before Freed, Kathy? I can't recall.
I believe it was Deloitte and Touche. And, Freed has been with us a long time. This is their second 5-year contract term. So I think they definitely do dig deep, and they are very thorough, and they're very supportive.
Yes. Yep. Thanks, Kathy.
Any other questions or comments on the CAFR? I would just say, Ms. Brooks Harris, were there anything, from your background, in your experience that kind of stuck out this past year that was in the CAFR?
No, nothing new.
Right.
No, nothing new. The CAFR is pretty standard. It's pretty standard, and like I said earlier, it's a lot of work that goes into it. So nothing new that I can think of. No.
But this
Right.
this last year was anything but standard. Is the reason that there's nothing new, because all that stuff is going to really be coming out in next year's CAFR, all the major changes to our city's finances due to COVID?
Well, right. We'll capture that next year.
Right.
So in 21's CAFR, you'll see.
I would point out that if you look at page 39 of the CAFR is where you would see our revenue and expenditures and where our change in fund balance was. And many times we like to focus on the general fund, and our fund balance in the general fund did decrease in the last year. And the major portion of that decrease had to do with the reduced state aid. So we did see an effect from the COVID pandemic during the last fiscal year, and we will again expect to see changes this year of a significant number.
Right. But nothing out of the ordinary as far as what we're presenting. Let me say it that way.
Ms. Brooks Harris, pardon my tardiness. You mentioned that there's nothing new. Are there things that continue to be there that are worthy of note for one reason or another, whether because they're troublesome or praiseworthy?
I'd have to think about that. Yeah, I don't think anything was troublesome besides, the state aid being cut. That was a headache. But other than that, this is always a headache for us when we're preparing this, because so much goes into it. It's so detailed. So let me think about your question.
Okay.
Yeah, let me think about that. Do you have thoughts on that, Kathy?
I would say just when we have a new requirement from the Gasb, General Accounting Standards Board, there are changes in the way we have to report and what we need to report, and that will, take a lot of work and come into play. Like we have a new Gasb coming up, Gasb 87 for lease accounting that we're just diving into, and we'll have to implement by the end of the 21-22 fiscal year. So sometimes these new GASBs require more resources and more work in order to implement them properly.
And that's, again, that's nothing new. That's always a headache. Anytime we have to implement these new GASBs. And it seems like lately it's quite often.
Did you say that was Gasb 87?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. It's and that one is, so that is that going to affect us in the next CAFR, or would that affect us in this one? Because that's the one with like you said, the leasing documentation.
Yeah, it's it's going to change the way we have to report on leasing, and we're just getting up to become knowledgeable about what is going to change and what's going to be required of us. And so we're just starting to work on that. It has to be effective for a financial statement that will end June 30th, 2022. So it will not be in the next CAFR, because that would end June 30th, 21. But we are beginning to look at that, its requirements, and what additional resources we may need in order to implement and appropriately account for our leases.
Right.
So you won't see it for a couple of years.
Huh? What?
Anything on effects from the school district or on debt service that stuck out? I really didn't see much there, but did I miss anything on that, or what's the thoughts around that?
I don't think you missed anything on that. I mean, there wasn't, like I said, you'll see the changes or what, you'll see some changes, but it didn't affect how we reported what we reported.
Right.
No. No.
Any other questions on the CAFR?
I was actually trying to find the page that has the Gasb updates. So I can give you guys that particular page number. But we can take more questions while
While you're finding that, yeah.
That would be page 50, Ross.
Yes, under new accounting pronouncements.
Right.
Okay. And just so you guys know, I'm not as involved with the CAFR now that I am in this new role as I was before.
Yeah, it was you. It was all you. It was like your time before. That was like
Yeah. So it's now Kathy's time.
Right.
So yeah, so she's more hands-on, even though I was. But that is Kathy's role. So before, I would be able to call out page numbers and just know exactly where to go, but not so much now.
Right.
Chairman Evans, this might be a question that you want to answer, but is there any place in the CAFR that we could kind of detect the impact of our bond rating changing as it happened? I believe it was, I know it was before the pandemic, so it happened a while ago, and I just wonder how we can kind of pinpoint what the
So we usually
Yeah,
speak
I
to
think you just
that
muted yourself,
in the
Councilmember
OS.
Gruber.
No, I was done with the question, and maybe, and part of my ignorance, I mean, maybe the issue with bond ratings, as you know, especially when it's kind of small gradients like it was, is that it's not a single place where you can identify the impact. But that's kind of what I'm wondering, is if we can see it anywhere.
Well, I know because we speak to it in the OS, in the official statement. That's probably, do you get a copy of that? I can't recall if you
Does
got.
that come under separate cover? I don't recall seeing that.
Yeah, it's a separate cover. It's not a part of the CAFR.
Yeah, it's not a part of the CAFR. I don't remember seeing that, but I know you guys have it.
Yeah, that is
So
what
that could be good
you're
for
probably looking
Councilmember Gruber
for,
to see.
Councilmember Gruber. Yeah. I can make that happen. Okay.
But also just anecdotally, Roz, is there, I mean, do you see do you feel the impact of that in looking at this CAFR?
My answer is yes, just because of the financial statements, the bottom line of the financial statements. And, you know, that's how we're rated. You know, that our bonds are rated on the financials. And our rating did not change because of the city. Our rating changed because of the district. So, and that is they spoke to that in the official statement in the OS. Now, to answer your question, I'm not sure if there's a place for that in the CAFR.
Would you send the official statement out to us again? If it's been sent already, would you send it again?
I could send it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Make sure you guys get it. Yeah. But I don't know that it's necessary to be in both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other questions? Yeah, I mean, I would just encourage anyone that maybe has not had the opportunity to look through all of it to do that, because it does provide a lot of information on our overall financial picture. I mean, you can look at lots of charts, lots of things that point to you know, our overall financial area. And the good thing is that it also allows you to learn about the school district. And it really, I think both CAFRs, and the reason why we use the same firm is because I think it reinforces our connection with them financially, whether we like it or not. It's like love and marriage, you know, so you can't have one without the other, unfortunately. So we're tied to, you know, the district, and the district is tied to us. And if you look at the CAFR, you'll see that in both of them. So.
And let me just say this, once you guys review the CAFR and review the presentation, feel free to shoot me an email or call or ask any questions that you have once you do have a chance to review it.
Great. Anything else, Madam President? I can turn it over to you if there's any
No,
other.
I have nothing further. I don't know if any of my colleagues do. If they don't, then we can adjourn the meeting. And thank Mrs. Brooks Harris and her staff for presenting to us today.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans.